Do you remember this video? Well met, everyone. I am Rich the Lich. What I'm going to show you today is how I would start a campaign, basically. Preparing a campaign in Eberron using the 5-bullet system. I want to lean into that quite a bit here. Let's just jump into this. So here we are on my desktop. I'm going to double click. We're opening up Google. What we need to do first is find a piece of artwork. First off, one second, let me back up. What are we doing today? What's the point of today's video? Today's video is quite simple. I want to show you more of this process. Everything I talked about in the Preparing an Eberron Campaign video. I want to show you how you can use the 5-bullet system. And as this starts to stick, as this becomes the glue, the foundation for your creative process, you will quickly find that you can create a world, a campaign, an adventure. You can become a dungeon master for any group at any table, and you can fit it all within any style, whether you want to go dark, macabre, grim, using the gritty realism variant in the back of the DMG, whether you want to lean a little more towards Curse of Strahd, whether you want to be high fantasy and you want to make it more arcadey, whatever you want to do. By using this 5-bullet system and really understanding and digesting this process, I think you will be on a good path towards your creative output. So let's jump right into this right now. First, we need to find a piece of art. Flip through Eberron. Find a piece of art that sticks. Flip through Xanathar's. You have to bear with me here. I'm about to pull them all out. Flip through the Players. That's the same book. It's a second copy.
Curse of Strahd. Out of the Abyss. Bolo's Guide. The DMG. Ravnica. That's how you say it too. Ravnica. The Monster Manual. Maybe some third-party stuff. The Creature Codex. Even better. Art and Arcana. Do you know how much artwork there is in here? How much things? I mean, look at the back. Some iconic images. Right now, let's take it a step further. This book. Wait, bear with me. This book. Wait. This book.
I think this has just become a video of me showing my art books.
This book. And this one. And this one. And this one.
Skyrim, Half-Life 2, whatever. Find some artwork. Use that as the inspiration. Remember, what you're trying to do is you're trying to fill up gameplay time. If you're playing this coming Saturday, online, in person, whatever, and your game is 6 hours long, all you need to do is worry about creating 6 hours of content. Let's just type in cool fantasy artwork, like that. I always do a large version of it so I can find a decently high resolution. I might actually go advanced settings here, advanced search. Let's make it at least 2 megapixels, advanced search. Let's see what's here. This is all free. I'm not claiming ownership of any of this stuff here. It's just on Google. I'm not trying to make any money on this stuff. Let's use this one. Let's open it up in a new blah, blah, blah. There it is. We're going to save it. We're going to call it yes. We're going to close this out. We're going to open up Photoshop. Wait, I opened up the wrong program. We're going to open up InDesign. Adobe InDesign. You can do this anywhere. You can simply print out the picture and then just write in the edges, or the margins they call it, right? You can just write. But I'm going to do it here. All fandangled fanciness. Create new. Hello. There it is. 1 page. That's all we need. We don't need to mess around with anything else. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in that art right here, and we're going to put it, let's go across the whole page like this. There's the art. Let's change the height to high quality. We're going to make this guy a little bit bigger, like meh. We're going to make sure it fits nice and snug with the margins. Good enough, okay? Let's see what's going on here. Let's zoom into this. Okay, what do we have, right? This is where the imagination is getting sparked. This is what I like to say eliminates writer's block. This is what eliminates the blank page, the dreaded blank page within your sketchbook, okay? This eliminates it right here. And the reason why is as a creative individual, when I look at these images, when I look at this picture and I take the entire, the composition of it, and I look at how the goblins relate to the guy sitting down in front of the door, and then the spellcaster and the female with the large hammer and all this and this and that. When I look at the entire picture, I'm starting to ask some questions. What was the artist thinking? What's going on here? And it's the answers that I'm kind of swirling around in my head that is eliminating writer's block. That's eliminating that creative paralysis. And this is what you need to springboard off of, because now I'm leaving the negative side of my brain, right? Or the real overly analytical side, where before I've even started drawing, before I've even started looking at pictures, before I've even started planning my session, I'm already thinking, what if the session sucks? Is this going to be the best session I've ever run? Ooh, do I need to use voices for the orcs and the pirates? But I'm not really good at voices. I'm not Matt Mercer. Hold on, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get on Critical Role and I'm going to spend 3 hours looking at Critical Role, so on and so forth. And what happens is now you're pushing into Thursday, Friday, and you don't have a lot prepped, right? We're getting distracted because we just have this fear that we're not going to create something. It's not going to be up to our standards or up to par. And then you also get into that mindset where I don't even want to start, right? And we start just thinking the negative side of it. Looking at a piece of art, okay? And I always recommend, it doesn't have to be character art. It doesn't have to be environmental, whatever. It doesn't even have to be within the genre. It can be sci-fi. It can be something very modern. It doesn't matter, okay? And it doesn't matter if it's video games, movie, or whatever. Looking at a piece of art, and I say art, not real world not photography, not photographs. Okay, because I want the artist's rendition of that content. Again, regardless of whether it's sci-fi or fantasy. But what happens is, by seeing the art, my creative mind shifts and leaves that stagnant negative side, and it starts creating. And that is what you want to do. And from this, using the 5-bullet system, you start to create content for your game. And you'll notice how this is world free. The content that we create here can fit into Eberron. It can fit into Ravnica. It can fit into Wildmount, Forgotten Realms. Wherever you want it. It can fit alongside one of the adventures in Ghosts of Saltmarsh, or when the PCs leave out of the Abyss, or whatever. At any tier of gameplay, level 1, level 17. It can fit anywhere. Because all you have to do is just rewrite some names, and change Sharn to Waterdeep. But all you're trying to do is just get that first session under your belt, okay? And this doesn't necessarily have to apply to session 1. It can be anywhere in there when you're just stuck for ideas and stuck for content, okay? So let's just see what's here. What really stands out is the words, okay? Because that's the only text on the screen. A lot of gold here. Vam. I'm thinking vampire, but maybe that's just the name, okay? But I'm thinking like the rest of the letters were left out, okay? It looks like it was painted, perhaps in blood. It has this reddish color to it. A lot of gold here. You've got a knight-looking fellow, guy fully armored with a giant metal helmet. He's trying to kick down the door. It looks like the other guy, at first I thought he was trying to resist him or stand against him, but he actually looks like he's trying to shoulder butt the door a little bit. And then you've got a couple of dwarves down there. One of them is holding a chest. You've got a female with a glowing magical blue flame hammer. You have like a standard bearer, the guy holding up like the flag. You have a wizard, of course, looks very Gandalf-y, pointed hat, iconic stuff, right? You have a really fatigued, either mentally broken or just, he looks a little bit cracked, whether he just saw a ghost or something like this. But there's your human adventurers, so to speak, right? Well, dwarves, of course, but your normal, typical adventurers. And then you've got some goblins here. It doesn't look like anyone, unless maybe the wizard's pointing at the goblins. But I was going to say that it looks like the goblins have kind of snuck up onto the situation. What is that guy holding up? I don't know if that's a card or if that's supposed to be a play on like a modern, like a cell phone or something, or like he's taking a, not a selfie, but taking a photo, but whatever. So, where are we going to go with this? What does this have to do with the PCs, right? That's a very important question. There's a dungeon. There's a vampire at the bottom of the dungeon. Okay, the dungeon, the door, a lot of gold here. They're trying to break in, so clearly there's something important they're trying to get to. You've got some dwarves there that are holding a special holding the chest. There's a dungeon. Let's go. I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's start getting some bullet points down. Here we go. Test 1, 2, 3. I don't even need to have fancy fonts or anything like that. So, number 1. A dungeon with a rare treasure. A special container is needed to contain the treasure. A vampire guards the rare treasure. Goblins ambush the group prior to entering or after the PCs have acquired the treasure, which might even be worse. Number 4, the dwarven mercenaries betray the PCs while in the dungeon. Just betray the PCs. And number 5. Gold coins become part of the puzzle to help the PCs navigate through the dungeon. Okay, we're going to create some space. We're going to go a little bigger so you can read everything. Like this. And then we're going to put some bullets. Okay. We're going to fancy it up, as we always do, just to give you a better, little more readability. So we're going to go like this. Where's the edge? That's good enough. Okay, and then I'm going to fill it like this, and then we're going to just change the tint, put it in the background. You know what I need to do, and this is important. We're going to put this on the desktop, and we're going to put this video stuff, just in case I lose it. So I need to make this a little bit bigger, like that. Okay? And then we're going to take this and lock it. We'll take this and copy it. We don't need to have too many of them. You see this all the time, right? It's just to help create a visual separator between bullet points is all. That's all we're doing here. Noodling and nitpicking, I like to call it. Like such. Yes, no, yes, no, yes. I need one more. Go right here, put it in the back. There's our 5 bullets. We're pretty good to go right here, guys. Okay? So, where did we get this? Where did this come from? We have a dungeon with a rare treasure. It looks like they're trying to break into this location. There's a special container that's needed to hold or contain that rare treasure that's found at the bottom of the dungeon. That's what those dwarves are there for. Okay? A vampire guards the rare treasure. A lot of gold here. Signed VAM. That just got the wheels turning thinking vampire. The goblins on the right side. Goblins ambush the group prior to entering or after the PCs have acquired the treasure, right? So they let the PCs do the dirty work, and then when the PCs are in bad shape, low on resources, as they exit the dungeon, the goblins ambush. So there's another fight, perhaps much lower CR, but because the PCs are low on resources, it can still be a very challenging fight. The dwarven mercenaries betray the PCs. The special container, the only container that's able to hold the rare treasure, is dwarven made. But this dwarven made chest is so valuable and highly regarded among the dwarves that the dwarves aren't just going to give it to any group. So they basically say, we'll give you the container, but our dwarves are going to go and escort it. Not that when you put the stuff inside of it, it's yours, right? You get that to wherever you need to bring it to. The rare treasure that you put inside of our dwarven container belongs to you, but we are going to make sure we get our damn container back, okay? For whatever reason, okay? So that's why they're there. So we're going to say that those two dwarves are not a part of the... There's a knight-looking dude right here. There's a wizard. There's the flag bearer. There's the female. And then there's the two guys here. And then this guy, okay? And then the final one, gold coins. A lot of gold here. Just indicating, hey, there's a lot inside. That's not going to be the rare treasure. It's going to be something else. But gold coins become part of the puzzle to help the PCs navigate through the dungeon. Think of breadcrumbs, okay? Hansel and Gretel or whatever, right? There's just gold coins at various places. And it doesn't have to be an actual, someone just leaving a trail of coins that you're following along the stone floor. The gold coins can be when the PCs are at a loss, like, okay, they come into an opening and there's 5 corridors. Which way do we go? Part of that investigation check, survival, whatever, tracking for the PCs to say, where are we going? Like, do we go left, middle, whatever? Which of the 5 do we go down? If they succeed on the investigation check, they find a gold coin kind of wedged into one of the mortar, basically. Like someone stuck it between 2 stone blocks on the wall. And over time, they start to piece together that any time they see a gold coin at a doorway or in a hallway or on the floor closer to one exit point versus another, that's the way you should go. The gold coins become this puzzle that they may figure out very quickly, but they need to find the gold coins. That can be the difficulty of the puzzle in and of itself. They know if we see a gold coin, kind of follow the gold coin. That's all that's going to do, right? So notice how many pieces we have. I'm not even going to write down more bullet points. But look at the content that we have there. If we were to go through this one more time before I end the video here. You have a dungeon with a rare treasure. We need to determine what is that rare treasure. Okay? Maybe that's supposed to go to a specific NPC. Notice when you're dealing with rare treasure always sounds, it's a very good adventure hook, right? Every PC wants to get their hands on the Hammer of Thunderbolts. But what happens, I think, a lot of times is we start to sort of put these barriers where we say, well, if we're dealing with rare treasure, I don't want my PCs to have that. My PCs are only level 5. I don't want to give them legendary and artifact level things. You don't have to give it to them. Maybe the PCs kind of, are under contract, signed in blood, where they're being paid by a high-level wizard to retrieve this legendary item. And that's the wrong wizard to piss off. Don't get the legendary item and then try and steal it. But maybe that is where you're going to go with your story arc. Maybe the PCs, think of the memories there. At level 4, your PCs acquire this legendary item, and they decide to keep it. And since that moment, the campaign changes direction because now they have a target on their backs. Now they are being hunted by all of the forces from this wizard who is claiming, rightfully so, that the group that he hired stole the item from him. So it doesn't have to necessarily go to them, right? But they're searching for this rare treasure. The special container is how we get dwarves involved. And now you're dealing with some faction elements, so you need to detail out, who are these dwarves? Is it a mercenary guild? Are they just a pair of twins? Just brothers that are, selling their services as mercenaries? And are they even mercenaries? Maybe they're not. Maybe they're just scouts, or they're just the lackeys that the king sent to ensure that this rare chest gets brought back to the dwarven kingdom. Maybe those two dwarves each have there's 2 keyholes in that chest, and the 2 dwarves have the keys on their neck, and after they put the keys simultaneously into those keyholes, they have to utter a certain rare word in Dwarven. So unless the PCs are going to completely intimidate, use charm magic, threaten and torture them to get that key word out of them, they need to keep the dwarves around. The PCs can't just say, hey, these guys are just 2 dwarven lackeys, let's kill them and take the chest, because they can't open the chest. And then to bypass the whole, well, then we'll just kill them and loot the keys, but they don't know the words. Point is, they need the dwarves. But what it does is it now introduces a faction into your world by simply having the dwarves there. And if the dwarves are going to have, right there, the fourth bullet point, the dwarven mercenaries betray the PCs, that doesn't have to be a physical encounter. Okay, it could be a social thing. Maybe it could be something where the dwarves, after this mission is done, after the session is over, many sessions later, the PCs learn that the dwarves let in on some information. And it's causing a bit of an obstacle towards the PCs. In one capacity or another, the dwarves end up betraying the PCs. But that's how they're included, because they're the keepers of the special container. You start asking questions. Why does this treasure need to be contained in a special way? Think of it from a prison point of view. Maybe the rare treasure is something alive. Maybe it's like a mini shield guardian or a construct or something. Maybe it's a phylactery that actually can speak to you, and the rare container keeps the curse at bay or something like that. So just having a special container to hold the rare treasure starts to bring about this really interesting question and answer system of what the hell treasure is that? And there's a lot of excitement there. A lot of gold here signed VAM. That just got me thinking vampire. That's the big boss fight. It does not have to be Strahd level, right? You don't have to confine it to this is only tier 3, tier 4 gameplay. This is not going to work for level 1 through level 5. Maybe the vampire is, there's broken the ceiling of this cavernous area. I'm thinking of when you first find Fush Roda, I think, in Skyrim, and just the beautiful light rays coming in. Maybe the ceiling is broken and there's just sunlight coming through in all these little pockets. And maybe that's how, if the PCs can tactically get the vampire to maneuver through those areas, the vampire is massively weakened. So it can still be a legit CR 9, 12, 13 vampire, but, his AC drops, whatever happens, right? So you can use certain elements that are in favor of the PCs if they take advantage of it. If they just treat it as going guns blazing and kill the vampire, and if it's a low-level adventure that you're creating here, destroy the PCs. Like, right away, let them know this vampire is beyond you. This foe is beyond you. Run! But give them, some hints, some tricks, some things that they can do to overcome this vampire. Maybe there's a social interaction or social encounter there. Okay? Maybe the vampire is the rare treasure and he needs to somehow be shrunk and put into this box or whatever. Or maybe the dwarves get down there and then boom, enlarges that chest and it's a coffin. See how the wheels are turning there? Goblins ambush the group. That can just be a simple fight. But again, there's layers of complexity there, therefore it's no longer simple, if they ambush them as the PCs are coming out. Okay? We already talked about the dwarven mercenaries betraying the PCs, and then gold coins become part of the puzzle. We talked about that a little bit. But notice, all I did was I found a piece of artwork randomly, and I don't need to show this to my players. I'm just creating content. But there's gameplay there. There's a ton of gameplay here. Who's the quest giver? Who's the wizard? That, you all meet in a tavern and you're all summoned. Some of you have come from the same starting zone. 3 of you are from Sharn. Notice how we're attaching it to Eberron. One of you is kind of the bugbear once lived in Drome for a little while. The Daughters of Sorakel or whatever it was. And you're on mission from the daughters, one of the hags. You're on mission for one of the Daughters of Sorakel to go investigate this rare treasure. And you've heard about this wizard that knows a little bit about it. And that's just to say, you all meet in a tavern, and this little squire, this page, a messenger comes in and hands a note and drops it on the center of your table. One of you grabs it and reads it, and it says, "You've all been summoned here. I've had my eye on you for a long time. I have something I need to talk to you about." Boom. You're now creating content. We have a wizard we need to create. He tells them about this rare treasure, tells them the location of where the dungeon is. But then he talks about, I have some allies. We've been working with the dwarven mercenaries from the nearby nation of, the Moror Holds, right? Or maybe you're in Forgotten Realms now. Citadel Adbar. Dwarves from there are starting to make their way through. Craghammer or something from Critical Role or something, right? And now you have these dwarves involved, and they're the ones that have the special container. And what do they want? Are they just getting paid in gold? so on and so forth. We've got to create encounter cards. We've got to create goblins, paint our little goblin miniatures, find some terrain outside of the dungeon where the fight's going to take place when the goblins ambush them and try and steal that container. Gold coins. We have this little puzzle concept. Think of how many doors and corridors we're going to create. And write little notes on if the PCs make a DC 22 check here, investigation, they find 1 gold coin. What happens if the gold coins get picked up by the dwarven mercenaries? Are they taking the breadcrumbs? You know what I mean? But you're creating puzzles, you're creating fights, you're creating a boss and the vampire, you're creating an NPC that has to introduce them to the story, you're creating a long-standing faction that might have a relationship with the PCs later on in the dwarves. You're creating a betrayal concept, which leads into longer story. So many things are being created here, and there's content just by looking at a picture. I'm going to keep doing this because I enjoy it. I truly love it, and I believe when this starts to stick and your mind just works this quickly and that way. I mean, this is a 27-minute video, and I have enough right now if I want to create an adventure for 6 to 10 hours this weekend. That's all now, the prep time is going to take, of course, longer, but the thought process, notice how I'm not sitting back for a day or two and wondering, oh, I was volunteered to be DM. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I showed you how Citadel Adbar Dwarfs, you've now attached it. Pick any tavern or inn, anywhere, Luscan, the Sword Coast, Neverwinter, whatever. That's where they meet the wizard. Who is the wizard? Is it Elminster? Is it someone else? Do they meet him like Gandalf when he was the White in Fangorn Forest? That maybe the dungeon is in the forest. Then now you need druid circles, druid grove. Okay, is it a druid of spores? That sort of, 5 druids of the spores are protecting the grove, which is the entrance to the dungeon. Remember, you're not showing this picture, which looks more, ruined area. They just need to go into a dungeon. But Druid of the Spores now screams to me, okay, am I playing in Ravnica at this point? What do I need to read about Druid of the Spores and what factions, the Golgari Swarm and whatnot? And you can pull any book off your shelf, your own world, whatever. As long as you have a meeting place to meet someone to give your PCs a quest, as long as you've got a place for goblins, and maybe it's not goblins. That's just what's there, but maybe it's just something else. Sahagin, maybe this is something Ghosts of Saltmarsh. And the dungeon is somewhat underwater. I'm thinking Kedge Keep from the old school MMO EverQuest. And they get ambushed by Sahagin or something like that. Lizard folk in my world, right? In the swamps of Gehet. There it is. Creative Flow 101. Thanks, everybody. See you later.